Good day, everyone. I am Leo Mariclaba from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. Today, I will present my study on an outcome-based framework linking community extension participation and student leadership roles to employability outcome of BSA programs, a narrative literature. So for the background of the study, global labor market now demands graduates who are adaptable, communicative, and leadership-oriented. Community extension builds civic responsibility and adaptability, while student leaders foster teamwork, ethics, and governance. However, literature remains fragmented, and outcome-based education requires measurable employability outcomes. This study proposes a unified practice-based framework. For the objective, the general objective of this study is to synthesize existing literature on community extension and participation and student leadership roles to examine their integration into an outcome-based framework for employability. Specifically, the study aims to synthesize theoretical foundation, review empirical studies, identify key indicators, and assess gaps and challenges. For the framework, this study anchored on three theories. Human capital theory, which views extension and leadership as investment in skills. Experiential learning theory, which emphasizes authentic learning cycle, and outcome-based education, which requires measurable, demonstrable outcomes. Together, these provide the foundation for linking co-curricular engagement to employability. So for the framework diagram, as shown in the framework, input includes community extension and student leadership roles. This leads to processes such as engagement, reflection, and assessment. The outputs are competency, development, and artifacts, while the outcomes are employability, job readiness, and competitiveness. For the design and methodology, this study uses a narrative literature review. Data sources include peer review, journals, both local and international. Thematic synthesis was applied to identify recurring patterns, with the final output being practice-based outcome-driven framework. For the results and discussion, for the theoretical foundation, extension and leadership roles act as human capital investments. Experiential learning context and OBE-aligned pathways, this directly strengthen employability by producing transferable skills such as communication, adaptability, and ethical governance. This confirms the relevance of Becker, Kolb, and Spady theories. For the results and discussion, empirical studies shows that structured extension projects consistently enhance communication, adaptability, and civic responsibility. These competencies are validated by partner satisfaction and project impact, making extension participation a credible pathway to employability. For the indicators, measurable indicators includes participation, R's, role complexity, rubric scores, and stakeholder validation for extension. For leadership, indicators includes role scope, tenure, governance artifacts, and peer or advisor evaluation. Employability outcomes are tracked through job status, job functions, matched employer satisfaction, and career progression. For the results on gaps and challenges, current literature remains fragmented, with inconsistent definition and limited mixed method approaches. Global benchmarking is weak, and tracer studies are underutilized. These gaps highlighted the needs for integrated outcome-based tracer. For the conclusion of this study, For the theory validation, human capital theory is confirmed as extension and leadership act as non-formal investments producing transferable skills. Experiential learning theory is validated since these roles provide authentic context for learning cycle. Outcome-based education is operationalized by embedding extension and leadership into measurable framework. For the extension impact, structured extensions projects significantly improve communications, adaptability, and civic responsibility. These competencies are externally validated through partner satisfaction and project impact, making them credible signals of workplace readiness. For the indicators for extension include hours, complexity, rubric scores, and partner satisfaction. For leadership, indicators include role scope, tenure, governance artifacts, and peer evaluation. Employability outcomes such as job match and employer satisfaction connect co-curricular engagement to workplace readiness. For the literature gaps, literature on extension and leadership remains fragmented with inconsistent measures and weak benchmarking. This underscores the need for a unified, outcome-based framework that integrates both pathways into employability outcomes. And for the recommendations, first, integrate human capital experiential learning and OBE into BSBA curriculum design. Second, institutionalize structured extension programs which partner feedback mechanism. Third, standardize indicators in tracer studies. Finally, develop a unified framework supported by mixed method design and global benchmarking. So here are the references of my study. So these references provide theoretical empirical foundation for the study, including Becker's human capital theory, Kolb experiential learning, Spade's OBN recent works employability and extension. So thank you for listening. I look forward for your questions and feedback on how this framework can strengthen employability outcomes in BSBA programs.